Hello, good evening. It's 4 p.m. here in Bangalore and 24°C out there. The sun is probably back. So, welcome all for this talk and Q&A session on Azim Premji University's Master of Arts in Education program. I was discussing with Ankur, not just the program, we'll probably cover the need for education professionals. I'm deliberately using the word professional in the country who can take up multiple responsibilities ranging from say curriculum design or policy analysis or research in education. So my name is Rajgopal. I will try not to talk too much today. So this is the third session that we are doing. So we have Dr. Ankur Madan here with me to talk about the program in detail. We'll also answer any questions that you may have. So thank you, Subhash. Subhash is there already online.
Namaste.
So I was going to say that if you have questions to ask, you should be typing in the. It's likely not true. It says say something, but it's the place for you to ask your questions. So before we start answering, let me introduce Ankur to you all. So Dr. Ankur has taught in various universities here in the country and also abroad. Before she joined Azim Premji University, she teaches courses in child development and learning, and deeply involved in research in the area of integrated education for children with learning difficulties. And she also offers an elective in that space, what we call inclusive education. She has many publications and writings to her credit. She also contributes to newspapers whenever she gets time, but used to, yeah. Apart from teaching here at the university, Ankur is also the program coordinator for MA Education program, which involves both academic management among many others. Ankur, before we start taking questions and by the time people are joining, if you could just give a brief introduction about the objectives of the program and how it's structured and things like that.
Okay. Hello. I am happy to be here with you. I hope that you all can hear us and see us clearly. The weather in Bangalore is nice and cloudy, and we are enjoying what we are doing here today. I'll just begin by talking a little bit about our MA education program at Azim Premji University, which is offered by the School of Education, as we call it. The program started in 2011 with the starting of the university itself. We now have had 4 batches pass out of the program, and every year about 120 to 150 students pass out of the MA education program. The program is a full-time 2-year degree, MA education degree program. The structure of the objectives or the idea of the program, as it suggests, is a liberal education program in education, which gives a multidisciplinary perspective of what education is as a discipline. It builds connections between theories and practice of education. It talks about educational practice in our country and the need for professionals in the country itself. It helps us develop an understanding of education as a discipline and domain from a multidisciplinary perspective, which means we look at the social, political, sociological, philosophical and psychological understandings of the domain of education itself. Also in the historical context, we talk about issues of curriculum, we talk about issues of pedagogy in education, we talk about educational policy, practice, leadership, school systems, etc., etc. That's primarily what the program is about. Would you like me to talk about the structure of
I think
the program?
we'll just see.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we are now open to questions, right?
Okay.
We are open to questions for people who are watching. We have also received a lot of questions from through email, Ankur. So some of them who cannot join this session, so they have sent us emails. The question is basically the first question they're asking is, this is not a discipline they have dealt with in their undergraduate program, right? And so how is it structured? How do you really start introducing the idea of education in the first semester or the second semester? Maybe you can.
Yeah. So education as a domain, as you rightly say, does not exist as a standalone discipline. It is a discipline that has been constructed out of a multidisciplinary knowledge of different disciplines which contribute to an understanding of what education is and what the education of the human being therefore. And therefore we use disciplinary knowledge of disciplines like sociology, philosophy, psychology, and in a historical context to develop the idea, build the idea of education itself, which primarily means that we offer core courses which we see as foundational to understanding this idea of education in itself. Which are foundational courses offered in the first year of the program. So like I said, the program is a 2-year full-time program. So the first year is purely foundational core courses, which include courses on sociology of education, philosophy of education, child development and learning, which comes from the parent discipline of psychology, philosophy of education, then curriculum studies, educational practice by understanding educational policy and school systems, then curriculum studies, then the historical context of education. All of these are considered, and ideas of research in education. So all of these are considered to be the core courses in developing an understanding of education as a discipline. But when we move to the second year, we hope to build on this understanding by offering electives. And in a given semester, we offer anywhere from 20 to 25 electives.
Yeah, I saw the entire list. There's almost 50 electives.
Yeah, in a year.
In a
so
year,
about
and
20
they have
to
to do around 8 to 10.
Yeah. So there are different credit structures. If you want, I can go into that. If there is interest in that, I could go into that as well. But the electives are, again, I very quickly will talk about the specializations perhaps.
How the electives are structured.
Yeah.
Like where do they come from?
Yeah, where do they come from? So, yeah. So in the second year, we offer now 4 specializations, which are largely concentrations in 4 areas, which students may find interest in. And these 4 areas are curriculum and pedagogy. They are teacher professional development, early childhood education, and school organization, leadership and management. These are the 4 specializations.
Curriculum and pedagogy, teacher professional development,
early childhood education, and school organization, leadership and management. Those are the 4 specializations. So the electives fall under these 4 baskets, but not necessarily. There are some electives which are offered outside of the specializations also, and students can choose either one area of specialization or they can continue to remain what we call a general track student who does not wish to pursue a specialized area of understanding.
Fantastic.
And there are some electives. For instance, we have what we call the pedagogy electives that talk about the pedagogy or the teaching of specific disciplinary areas such as science and math and social science and language, which we call as pedagogy electives, which are mandatory for students. We expect every student to do at least one such pedagogy elective, and the others they can choose from this wide range of electives, as I said, about 20 to 25 in a semester. And apart from that, of course, there is a very, very strong component of field engagement and practicum in the program, which we take very, very seriously, and we feel that drawing connections between theory and practice is an extremely important objective of our program. And we do that through 3 different ways. One is through a weekly practicum, which is attached to task-based practicum, in which students visit schools and communities, etc. And these are attached to specific courses like child development and sociology, sometimes also to educational policy and school systems. So they have task-based activities that they conduct, and we actually have a designated day every week.
So when you said practicum, when I go to places and I get a chance to interact with students who are in their final year, and I say, hey, we don't have class here on Wednesday. They're quite excited to know what do you do then?
Yeah.
So when I say go to schools and observe.
Yeah.
So that is an opportunity for them to immediately connect the theory,
Understand
yes. How
yes.
theory with
So all the theory that we seem to talk about in our classrooms finds its connections in the field immediately as we do that, and it begins almost on the first week of classes as soon as the first semester begins. So that is an integral and a very important part of the field engagement. But apart from that, there are at least 3 other opportunities for students to go out, longer duration internships and immersion as we call them, which happen in the first semester. They also happen in the second semester, and then in the interim between the third and the fourth semester, which is 6 week long. So the first semester engagement is 2 weeks, second semester engagement is also 2 weeks, and then the third one is 6 weeks long. So much longer field engagement where students choose to work on projects of their choice, whatever, if it is related to their specialization, then that, or any area that they find intriguing and interesting to work on.
Very nice. I have some questions on the field project, which I will come back later. So I can see some questions coming in. So people who joined in late, we've just spoken about how the MA education program here is structured in the form of core courses, which is going to give you foundational ideas into the domain of education, and then there are electives which are basically coming out from the specializations that's offered only in the second year. And Ankur briefly spoke about the integrated field practice, which is in the form of weekly practicum tasks or longer engagement out there in the field. So hello, hi Shankar, thanks for joining. Akshat, that's what Ankur did say, how many batches have passed out? 4 batches.
4 batches. Right. So 2016, the 4th batch passed out. So, and the next one will be ready soon in 2017.
I call them the graduating batch.
Yeah.
So that's right. So that's answered. Is there anything specific that you want to know about the batches, Akshat? So 11 is where they started. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 4 batches.
4 batches at first.
Out there working in various organizations. So Ankur, when you spoke about electives, that's quite impressive. Like a range of 50 electives for them to choose from various ranges, right? And there are also electives which are not part of the specialization.
Yeah,
right?
Not necessarily.
Plus, there is this concept of cross-listed electives.
Right? So there are some electives which are cross-listed across the other programs.
Okay.
So as I don't know, some of you may know about the fact that we offer 2 other MA programs, that is MA in Development and the other is School Policy and Governance. And some of the courses are cross-listed across programs. Not too many, but at least 4 to 5 courses every semester are cross-listed across programs. So that is also an occasion for you to interact with and meet with students from other programs. And obviously the perspectives that come out in such courses are very, very interesting because they are not necessarily coming from your own discipline, but also outside of that.
So education and development interlinkages.
Yeah, so interlinkages between education and development, etc. Yeah. So yes.
Excellent. So
there are some questions.
Yeah, I think some questions we'll start taking. Mr. Dingra, I'll take your question after pursuing a master's education. Is there any scope of pursuing a career in public policy making in the field of education? So, Ankur, would you want to?
So yes and no. I am not quite sure whether you can work in a public policy area, but we do have several courses which apprise you about policy in education, right? So while we have a program which is dedicated to public policy and governance here, which is an MA program, the focus of that program is not necessarily education, and similar likewise the focus of our program is not public policy per se, but we do have some students who do work in the area of education policy, because there are several courses that are dedicated to educational policy itself. So perhaps yes, it is certainly an area that you could explore.
But the way I look at it is, if your primary interest is in education, then there's the program.
Yeah, there is.
If your primary interest is in how
public
policies are formed,
then
and how it's implemented on the ground,
then perhaps the other program would be more useful for you. Yeah.
If you have a follow-up question, please do ask Dingra. Sneha, I'll come back to your question on the specializations, but before that, that's a good. Somebody's asking, why should I do MA? I'll answer both, right? Okay. So, what are the placement options offered? These are the most frequently asked questions that I get in terms of simply put, MA program करने के लिए इतना दूर क्यों आऊँ, right? Why should I come so far to do an MA program? So that's unfortunately is because of the hierarchy we are given to certain areas. But Ankur, I would leave that to you. This is not just another MA program which they could sit and do it at home. And the question was this: I can enroll somewhere and get it done in a distance education mode. Why should I spend 2 years?
So I would think that an MA program per se is a post-graduation program which opens up perspectives and ideas of higher education that you probably do not get in an undergraduate program. So that's the reason, if you want to pursue education for the sake of it, for knowledge, for the sake of knowledge, then an MA program is what you should be doing. Why should you come here this far to Bangalore to do a program of this kind? I would think that the experiences that I'm sure Rajgopal would agree that we've had in our interactions with most of our students is that the kind of exposure and knowledge and learning that they have found in our program is something that they have not really quite experienced in any of their earlier schooling or graduation or undergraduate programs that they have gone through. So in that sense, an MA program that opens up avenues not only in terms of opportunities for career, I would think, but more so in terms of what you learn here for the sake of learning, and as a if you are interested in the domain of education per se, then I think this is a program. And there is I will quickly take Ibrahim's questions on what differentiates MEd and MA in education, which in a sense is linked to that. So why MA in education and why not MEd? The essential difference is that an MEd program is a teacher education program. In that sense, it has a narrower scope. The MA in education program, as I explained earlier, is a much broader understanding of educational theory, practice, and the discipline and domain of education itself. So in that sense, it distinguishes it. While having said that, I would like to just give you a little information that I don't know if you have or not. The MEd program prepares you to teach, most certainly, in a teacher education setting, which could be a government recognized teacher education program or not. But our program, you should know this, is not recognized by the NCTE, which is a body that recognizes all higher education, teacher education programs, because we are not a teacher education program.
So the intent is not to prepare.
So we are not really preparing you to become neither just teachers nor as teacher educators. So we are not a teacher education program. The spectrum of the kind of things that you do here is much broader than a MEd program. But you should know this, that there is an essential difference between the MEd and the
Ankur, I think probably where this is coming from is when you say bringing about changes in education, the entire onus is probably on the teacher. So that's the perception of society, right? And people talk about teacher, we need to help the teacher, but there are many other stakeholders.
So for instance, if you want to engage in questions about curriculum, what to teach, how to teach, whether what is correct, what is incorrect in terms of what should be taught, what should not be taught. If you are interested in issues of school systems, managing school systems, organization of school systems, or pedagogy of how to teach, all of those are questions that will be dealt with here. And perhaps in a teacher education program, the idea is just to prepare you for teaching. So that is a distinction between this.
Fantastic. So I'll just see whether we have missed anything. Sneha, quickly, I'll just name the specializations, right, which are offered in the second year. That is curriculum and pedagogy, teacher professional development, early childhood education, school organization, leadership and management. These are the names, but if you are interested in any particular area, please do ask. We will go into details, right? Pallavi, the placement options offered by the university. So I just assume you're asking about the MA education program, but broadly, if I'm asked to classify the organizations coming here for placement, one could be NGOs or social sector organizations working on the field, on the area of education. Right. Second could be CSR departments of corporates which are working. The third is where I am calling them research organizations or think tanks. Right? So these are the three broad areas where you will find yourself. And of course, the government sector. Some of them do get government jobs also. They apply it elsewhere. So what we will talk about probably, Ankur, you can help me, is the kind of roles. So we have 100 organizations participating every year in the placement process. Right? But when you say placement options, probably you're asking me the kind of roles that they would play in these organizations, right?
So like I said that you could be a person who is interested in questions about curriculum, right? Or what to teach, what is meant for what age group, how to learn, how do children learn, what are the questions about readiness for learning, etc., etc. So curriculum planning, development of curriculum material, development of teaching material. Then also you could be a person who's interested in questions about understanding school systems, for instance. So leadership, educational leadership as it is, organization of school systems. You could be a person who wants to work with capacity building areas, of capacity building of teachers, of school leaders. So at every level of hierarchy in the school system, you could be a person interested in administration, educational administration, for instance.
Right.
So those are the different kinds of areas and careers that people go into. Many, I must also add that even though we say that quite categorically that we do not prepare teachers in that sense, or we are not a teacher education program, a lot of our students, or at least some of our students, choose to go out there and teach because they really feel passionate about it. And they feel that unless you have really taught in a classroom, we really don't understand education. So there are students who go out there and just take up a teaching job for a year or 2 or 3 and are so impassioned about it that that is what they wish to do. So different kinds of roles at different levels. I think a lot of it is determined by what kind of interest you develop as you are here, and also some of it on the background that you come from. So we also don't want that whatever you have brought in from your undergraduate studies or the work experience. We have a lot of students who come with the experience of work in all kinds of sectors. So bring that and use that and apply that in area. I think the sky is the limit in that sense of what you could possibly do
after this. True. So Pallavi, if you have that's a very broad questions, right? I mean, what are the placement options? I mean, I could do just one 45-minute session to talk about the work in the education sector, right? So, I mean, the quick answer is we are not making enough professionals to work in the education sector. Let me put it that way. Right.
That was one of the reasons why this program started. I don't know if the background is really very quickly that the Azim Premji Foundation had already been working in the education sector for about 10 years, and it was realized that we don't really have enough people who understand the domain of education to be out there making the difference in the field of education. So becoming a reflective practitioner, as we call it, is something that we wanted to develop capacity in, and that was the background of it. So what area of education you choose to work in is really your call, but you could contribute to any aspect of it provided you feel the passion and you feel that this is what I want to do. And
True. So let me take Madhuri's question. We will answer all the questions. So we have finished around 25 minutes, Ankur, in case you haven't realized.
Okay, I should do this again.
So we have 30 minutes to.
We are teachers. We tend to talk a lot.
I'm so glad. I think they're quite bored listening to me. The last 2 sessions I did, and I ended up talking a lot. So it's good to hear from you. It's Madhuri. I'm taking Madhuri's question that you have recently completed your masters in an area biotechnology and you would like to pursue a career in educational field. How will MA educational field? Let me put it this way, right? So this is going to be your second PG degree. Right? So there are two things that you could do. Right? If this is the sector that you want to get into, if education is the area that you want to get into. There are opportunities for what we call a fellowship program also for postgraduates, right? The reason why I'm telling you is this: you should make that choice. Would you like to spend 2 years to get another PG degree, or do you want to just experience the sector which is education and then make a decision? Right? So you have fellowship options available, but no, if you've decided now, I don't want to go into detail of how a fellowship is structured. It's not an academic engagement as such, but if I made a decision that I would want to enter into the education field by academically understanding the discipline of education, integrating that with practice, right? And if you value that, you should do an MA education program, right? We don't want people to be working in the, that's my personal view coming in. Anybody working in the education sector, for that matter, the development sector, should have enough ideas, perspectives, and capabilities before you start intervening. Okay. Yeah. So that's the quick answer, Madhuri. So the reason why I'm telling you is there are, Azim Premji Foundation is close now. They offer fellowship for postgraduate students. But the reason why I spent this 2 minutes is to explain, because you already have a PG degree.
Yeah.
But the area that you've chosen, say biotechnology, is not something that we deal in schools.
Yeah. But biology, yes, as a parent discipline, biotechnology, I'm sure comes from.
Once you, I'm now quickly connecting into Ibrahim's question thing, right? So if somebody like Madhuri comes in here, or let's take somebody with a BSc in biotechnology or biology, decides to come in here. How do they plan their academic?
Yeah, so you could be a person who's interested in the pedagogy of science, for instance, how to teach.
I think we need
what pedagogy means. Okay.
Because that's we keep hearing that. When I said about the specialization curriculum and pedagogy, more or less they understood curriculum. They asked, what is pedagogy?
So pedagogy, very simply translated, means educational theory and practice of how to teach. Okay. So while curriculum is what to teach, pedagogy is how to teach. Okay. So the best practices in how to teach are referred to as pedagogy in the simplest kind of understanding.
Okay.
And so what Madhuri is asking is how a biotechnology degree, well, directly perhaps not. I don't think that biotechnology per se as a field would come in very useful. But having said that, I also want you to know that there are lots of students who come with MA degrees to our program. They have already done post-graduation and want to now sort of explore education as a domain or have something that they want to contribute to, and so you'll not be the first student with a master's degree who chooses to take up the program. But nevertheless, with your parent discipline being biology, as I hope I understand that, you could be a person who knows your biology but does not know how to teach biology, right? So the pedagogy of science could be something that might interest you, and we have full-fledged course in science pedagogy. You could be a person who's interested in developing curriculum for science or biology particularly. We also have advanced courses in developing of curricular material. So that is a line that you could take with your very, very grounded and firm understanding of biology as a parent discipline.
Interesting. So I was reminded of an article that I was reading, or probably presentation. The focus now is not on content. Content is available on the internet. You can find it. But the focus is on dissemination, the pedagogy part of it. Somebody was here from Finland doing that talk. So they were talking about that the focus in Finland is not giving them too much of content, but focus on pedagogy.
And experimenting with different ways of engaging children, not just in terms of disseminating the content, but also how to get children interested in learning and what is appropriate to be learnt at what age, and what is appropriate in terms of how to disseminate that knowledge.
Right, and how to do that may also change based on the social context of the children.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
that's a very important point.
The article was
knowledge,
the article said, it was very interesting. So you're in a remote part of the country. You're teaching fractions, and you're using the example of pizzas
and cakes.
They're not even seen about a pizza with cake is. But
so while you can choose to teach the same thing using something that is far more contextually and culturally relevant and appropriate.
Exactly.
So those are the kind of questions that pedagogy deals
Ibrahim, that's what we're trying to answer. Ibrahim asked this question as to what pedagogy means. So simply put, how to teach. Right. Sri Danturi, I think we answered that question. We'll come back. What does ME education equip a person for? But if you have further questions, we will answer. It's not a teacher preparatory program, it's beyond that, right? Anand, I'll come back to that. Leadership, school education, leadership, specialization, we'll probably come back if you want to take that.
No, that's now. Whatever.
Because there are two questions. Shreya and Anand asking if there's somebody else joining in late, we will cover that. Definitely I'll come back on that. Danturi said, what can I do in this real world after he graduates? It's multiple, right? You can be as a curriculum designer. So if somebody wants to work on a project, how do I make history classes interesting in class 7?
Yeah. Right? So education is really about the real world.
Real world. So that when Ankur spoke about pedagogy courses, so majority of the pedagogy courses are complemented. Not majority. All the courses are complemented with what we call curricular material development. Right? So materials required to present that content to the learner. Right? So it's multiple. I just use the area of curricular material development, but there is plenty.
Yeah. And also working with teachers.
Yes.
So working with teachers to help them teach better. For instance, that is a real world problem. So teachers go out into the classroom, but they may have some domain knowledge, they may have some disciplinary understanding, the disciplines that they come from, but the kind of teacher education programs that we have, unfortunately, in our country at present, do not prepare them adequately to really teach. So you, as a person who understands education from that perspective, go out into the real world, as you say, and help teachers understand
truly
what to teach and how to teach. So those are very real world problems. And let me just quickly add that when you go to the schools for practicum work, as we were sharing earlier, you encounter those problems, and our students then gradually become very, very insightful in identifying those problems and saying that, the manner in which fractions were being taught in class, in the maths class today, was not really how it should be taught. I could think of a much better way of doing it. So that's a real world problem that finds a solution there and then. Or questions about, social discrimination or caste and class and gender, disability. You find those real world problems out there and you feel that you can make a difference to them. So
I was visiting an area where the teacher training program, what they're doing for teachers, it's not about content or how to teach maths or science. It's about motivating them, telling them the aims of education. It could be perspective building also as to why education at all. Right? So the real world is multiple. Ankita, it's your question. I think what we will do here is we would probably talk about our program, and then you can go and
affiliated. We are not affiliated really. She's asking if we are affiliated. No,
affiliated, not at all. Those are two different.
They are two different programs.
Completely different programs.
Ours is a full-time program. Theirs is a part-time program. That is one serious distinction. The rest of it, of course, I'm sure you can find out.
I'll take Narayan's question there. Nice to see.
This is our Narayan.
Let us.
I think this is Narayan, as in.
Oh, is it? Okay. Let us know if you
I
can
don't
contribute any possible way.
Yeah.
So Narayan, the
This
only
is
way,
our Narayan, who is already a student.
right. So the only
I
way
think so.
you can contribute is finding more leaders for social change.
Yeah.
Right. So people who are inclined to see that there should be some. I'm not talking about big change. In some small way, they want to contribute for social change.
Question
Yes.
about internship.
I think we'll talk about a little bit more. We'll just break that. So Riya Khatri, we're taking your question on how the field practice is structured.
Yeah, so
Ankur, I'll just repeat what you
like
said. No, I would want you. So what we said was, every Wednesday we have weekly practicum tasks.
Yeah.
Which are associated with the courses.
With courses, yeah.
The courses. So that's an opportunity for them to immediately connect theory with practice.
And that continues throughout the 2 years of the program.
So there are practicum tasks also for electives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not
for
course.
all, but
Some of
quite
the
a few
electives
electives have
will
practicums. Yeah.
If you could talk about the longer field duration.
Yeah. So I think that's a very, very important component of our program, and we are very proud of it. And it was very deliberately incorporated into the curriculum of the program. This particular component is also credited, by the way. It has 10 credits out of the 72 credits of the MA education program, and is broken down into 3 parts, or 3 times that you experience the field largely. The first time is in the first semester itself, when you go for a 2-week immersion, as we call it, where you go out into the field to places where our Azim Premji Foundation is working, and you are exposed to education per se as a domain and school systems, to understand what the education domain is really like, and understand school systems and the different hierarchies within that. The second time that you go out into the field is again in the middle of the second semester. There the immersion is attached to a core course on educational research. There you go with a research problem. So having learned methodology, research methodology in education, you go out there to use that methodology out there in the field. You go with a research question, you explore the field, you collect some data, you come back and analyze that. That site can be of your choice.
Okay, some examples on
so you could be interested in say finding out about motivation levels of teachers who work in remote areas. For instance, I could be someone who wants to find out why teachers have such poor motivation levels. What has gender got to do with education? What has why are girl children not interested in math? For instance, these are popular stereotypes and perceptions about things. Or I could be interested in some class caste issues about, school systems, anything. It could be arising out of your interest in any of the core courses, largely speaking. Yeah. And that is one. And then the third component is the much longer 6-week internship, where you choose a site and you are very, very closely mentored and supervised by one of the faculty members, purely based on your interest. If you have chosen a specialization, then your internship should also be in that specialization out of the 4 that we had listed earlier. And you could go out with an intervention model. You could go out there and teach. If you are a person who feels that for 6 weeks I should go out there and be teaching in a classroom, so you go with lesson plans. In place, and you reflect on your teaching practice. You come back, you reflect on the material that you have prepared. That could be one way of doing it. Or you again go out with a larger research question. You go out there and explore something on a larger basis, and it could be anything ranging from, say, understanding how early childhood education programs work, to something about how pedagogy for children with disabilities is different from children who are in regular classrooms. You could be interested in seeing how reading books to children makes a difference to their literacy and pedagogy. All of those kind of questions. I mean, it could be a wide range of things that you could explore. And like I said, it is a supervised thing. It is credited. It has 6 credits, which is long enough, and it begins in the 3rd semester, continues throughout the 3rd and the 4th semester. You come back, we organize a symposium where students present their work, and we all listen to each other's presentations with much interest and enthusiasm.
We did it in March 2016.
It's a three-day event where no classes happen and we attend each other.
I think some of them even commented it kind of helped them because they were talking about that work to the employers who came for placement.
Yes, it plays a very important part in placement. Certainly yes. Because you have explored something in much detail. And can we also quickly talk about the independent study?
I think we should. I think that is related to what Ria is asking in terms of internship. So Ria, hopefully that answers that it is field immersion to give an introduction into the ideas or area of education, and then there is
followed by internship.
Followed by
two kinds of immersion, followed by internship, and the weekly
and
practical.
the second immersion is more of a research.
But not necessarily. It could be teaching, it could be intervention, it could be understanding an organization, it could be anything. It could be really an area of your choice.
Are you talking about the field?
I'm talking about the longer internship. The second one is research, definitely research. Okay, so there is one small component of independent study that I want to quickly talk about. So in the 4th semester, we give the students an option to take on one independent study by foregoing an elective. So you can do a 3 credit or a 4 credit independent study if you choose to, in an area of your choice where you work again closely with a faculty member in deciding what you want to work in, and it is an area of study that you pursue by even figuring out the curriculum for it. So you decide what you will study, what will be the assessment involved, what is the nature of assignments you will do in that. Everything is figured out by the student along with the faculty member, and it's really an opportunity to get into much greater depth in an area that you have probably been interested in but did not have the opportunity to explore through an elective. So it's really also prepares you for taking on independent research work, etc. later on, in case you are interested in pursuing higher education through a PhD or something, or an MPhil or something like that.
So I've seen some of them extending their field internship,
into
connecting that into independent
that's
study.
Also, it's quite often done.
I'll take the next one.
Please do.
Amar, I think we answered that in great length, but we will cover later if you want. After completion of course, what are options are available? We spoke enough. Pallavi, I didn't get your question. There are students doing MA in development eligible for the fellowship program. Which fellowship program?
I think the one that you spoke about earlier.
No, the fellowship program is which I was talking about was answering Madhuri's question. She already had a PG program. But so you'll have to ask me specifically. Otherwise, after MA in development, I would not go for a fellowship program unless that fellowship program is going to give me a specific, or it's going to work in an area which is of your liking, right? Otherwise, you will choose the area that where you want to work. Amar, I think we answered the scope of work. Preeti, that's Preeti. I think that's what we were trying to. Ankur did answer. So she's asking graduation in political science. So the program is open for any graduate in any discipline, right?
And political science actually fits in rather well. It's a social science discipline, and it fits in very well because issues of social political ideas of education and how education is located in the social political scenario is something that is very integral to understanding it. So I think you will actually bring a lot of understanding of your own in figuring those out. So we actually have a course that is titled Political Economy of Education, which is a core course, and we have Sociology of Education, we have Economics of Education. So a lot of what you have done will find use, and of course there are
class, caste and gender.
Class, caste and gender, and there are courses on education policy. So I think political science clearly will have a very, very sound place.
I think the way you should look at it is, are you looking at contributing towards education sector. Right?
Yeah.
If that interests you, it doesn't matter what you've done in a graduation. I mean, if you have listened to what Ankur said in the beginning, the foundation courses or the core courses that we call is to give them those ideas.
Absolutely. Because education is not something that exists in isolation. It is located in the social, political, economic, historical context, and you can't understand it without that core understanding.
Probably the difficulty they are facing is, or I may be wrong, is so far they have dealt with a single discipline. And from that they are moving, their natural choice is to do a postgraduate program in the same area. Right? And here is we are telling do a multidisciplinary program, and that's probably the question is, but you will fit in well, but you should have interest in the area. This side, somebody is asking, how do I choose education or development or policy? Then choose the area that's not something we can advise on. They have to choose that area. Absolutely. Right. Shankar, how can the course equip the students and the teacher? Students, do you mean the students in the in a school classroom or
after passing?
And the teachers to think before walks the classroom. Thank you. Ankur, you want to?
So I would think beyond the classroom, I think within the classroom is also equally important. But yes, it does certainly equip you to understand education or ideas of education beyond the classroom as well as within the classroom. I mean, my strong urge would be to redesign the classroom itself, because there's so much to be done within that. So the perspectives that you are exposed to in this program really are in that sense extremely broad. So the ideas of whether it is about curriculum or whether how education in itself is understood in the context of, that's why the multidisciplinary approach is very, very important, and it's been really thought out that we felt that philosophical, sociological, psychological, historical perspectives were extremely important, which broaden that understanding of education itself. So it does go well beyond the classroom, but I would urge you to think of looking within the classroom itself, because there is more than enough to be done in the classroom itself. So yes, I would give a big yes to your...
Thank you. Thanks, Ankur. Shankar, if you have any follow-up question, please do ask. It's quite a broad question.
Does the course include how to empower teachers, not how to teach?
So does the course include how to empower teachers?
So empowering teachers, I would think that your question is a good one in that sense, because questions of teacher autonomy have become suddenly and thankfully quite important in our gaining an understanding of education itself. And so by empowering, if you meant autonomy, then I would say that yes, we talk about teacher autonomy when we talk about school systems itself. We talk about how school systems regulate and impinge upon teacher autonomy. So issues of empowering teachers to become people who take decisions within their classrooms about what to teach and how to teach in itself, and how education system works, are extremely important, and we feel that it is an important thing to do. And see, empowering teachers really means empowering them with knowledge itself. So you empower a teacher by giving her the knowledge to take decisions about the contextually and culturally relevant ideas of what to teach, how to deal with systems within the school, the organizational aspects of schools. So yes, certainly empowering the teachers is an important component of that.
Fantastic, thank you. Let me go back to, we missed one question where they were asking specifically about school leadership, school organization leadership, management, specialization. Of course, we will have, I'm planning to do specific sessions on the specializations later.
That's wonderful.
But for the moment, if you can just brief them.
So the school organization leadership and management specialization, it's quite a mouthful to pronounce, is really talking about these three components of school systems, which talk about how school leadership, organization and management of school systems works, right? So which means that you may be working with leadership at different levels in the school and outside of the schools, and you may be interested in, say for instance, issues of managing schools itself. So how do schools work from the economic aspect to management aspect of it. You may be interested in quality discourses in education, for instance. You may be interested in what are the parameters for quality in an educational system and how to set those up and what works and what does not work. You may be interested in working with school leaders on educational administration. Right, so those are the kind of things that the school organization, leadership, and management deals with. There is some the debate on do management theories apply to education kind of things. We try and stay away from those. We try and steer clear of those. But educational theory itself can be understood through different perspectives and ideas of school leadership itself. So those are the kind of things that you would, and we have found, I think in my experience of having been here now, that a lot of students who have come with certain maturity and experience of work experience want to then work with school leaders. For instance, they may be interested in working with headmistresses and principals of schools, or they may be interested in working with teacher educators itself. So people who teach in teacher education institutions. So people who work in those areas are the ones who are interested in this specialization, but obviously not necessarily.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. That was Anand Kumar's and Shreya Rakshit's question we have answered. So I think there are some NGOs focusing on what they call, or they run programs like school principal leadership programs.
So this is where it would be. So educational administration, management, all of those issues.
So let us take 10 more minutes to go, but if you don't finish, I think we'll just extend it by 5 more minutes, Ankur. I'll take these two together. So how is this program different from MEd? That is Narayan Meher's question, which you answered, but we'll quickly respond. And there's Ankita's question asking, does MA education lead to teacher certification? I mean, if you could just combine both together.
I'll answer Ankita's question, and that kind of answers Narayana's also. So MA education does not lead to teacher certification, Ankita. Our course is a broad course in education itself. A teacher certification, by saying that it gives you, is an equivalent of a B.Ed or a M.Ed degree, that it is not. Like I had shared earlier, in our country, teacher certification is given by teacher education institutes that are recognized by what we call the NCT, National Council of Teacher Education, which is a mandatory certification that every teacher education institution should have. It should be affiliated to the NCT. We are not affiliated to them because we don't offer a teacher education program. Ours is not a teacher education program, hence we do not provide that teacher certification. Right. So, and that is also the way in which it is different from the MEd degree. So while it reads as the same as an MA in education, the MEd degree primarily is a teacher education preparation program which prepares you for a teaching role in a teacher education institution, right? So you could work in typically a B.Ed college or something, or a diet, as we call them, the state diets, district diet, D.Ed, B.Ed kind of programs, which are teacher education institutions. It largely prepares you for a teaching role. I would think that the scope of our program is not different but broader. I would think it's broader, certainly.
The contribution is definitely towards for the
for
education
the domain,
sector,
for the field, but in a much broader perspective.
Right.
And so, it is very deliberately so. Very deliberately so.
So let's see where we are. Anand Kumar, I'll take Anand's question. Can you please name some of your alumni and what they, surely. So I'm not going to name them now. There are 700 of them working out there in the last 4 batches.
Okay.
So you could the 2 places that comes into my mind, right? One is go to onto a website. There is something called placements. So Anand, we keep getting this question, right? It's not a new one. They want to connect with our alumni, to talk to them, to see, especially especially people who have with work experience, right? And they want to see, after completing the program, what are they doing now? How are they using their previous work experience knowledge in their
It's a very good idea.
Number one, I would say, go to the placement web page. There's a section called placements on the Azim Premji University website. There are some reflections of our students, right? or alumni. Second, there's a LinkedIn page of Azim Premji University. So there's around 200-250 of them who have tagged their names to Azim Premji University. So you will see location-wise, organization-wise, where they are working and how they are contributing, what is their role.
Yeah.
Right, Anand? Thank you, Shreya. Glad that Shankar. Okay, I think we answered the question. I said, when both students in the path. We see the students in the classroom probably they don't have a choice. Right? It's all about others who are designing the classroom, right? Vinita, you completed your MSc and MEd and PhD opportunity. You please do go to the careers page.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
Careers
you can upload your
page and then upload, and the people function team should get in touch with you. I think that kind of stuff. And the questions coming in, I got 5 more minutes to go. So if they have time, there's one, Ankur, I keep meeting our alumni whenever I travel. I make it a point to see who's there, just to see how they're doing and how they're connecting. When I came in, I thought, oh, this is too much of a theoretical engagement. But then they say, no, that is required. And interestingly, someone said, no, in fact, I wrote, because I lost my readings. They were doing something, and I did write to.
We hear that all the time.
I mean, if you could share some experience.
So our students who pass out, there's something that we should mention here also, Rajgopal, about the rigor of the program. So the students do find that the MA education program is rather rigorous. We have lots and lots of readings, we have assessments, and we keep our students busy and on their toes all the time. And that is not to scare anybody off, but just to give you a sense of the fact that the program is rather rigorous and demanding on students. And when they go out, and so when they're here, they crib and they complain about the amount of work and reading and writing that they have to do. But after they pass out, we hear that every time we meet with the alumni, that oh, we miss out on that, we miss out on the readings, we miss out on all the wonderful discussions that we used to have in the classroom. And a lot of them want to connect back because they find, the reflection and the application of the learning does not happen overnight. It is not an immediate thing that you see insights into. It's only when you go to the workplace you understand that the theoretical grounding, the rigor of it that they have received in the classroom really is something that they can apply quite effectively in being critical, analytical, and understanding the workplace and effectively using that knowledge. So yes, I mean, we hear that all the time from our alumni. All of them want to go back to their reading and say, that reading that you did in that particular unit
that's what they were
happens all the time.
So wonderful. I think thank you for the session, Ankur.
Right. You're welcome.
Thanks for the wonderful questions. Without that, we would not have been able to stay for the last 60 minutes. So thanks to the team who are working behind this. There's a technical team who sets this all for us. So thank you, Sheetal and team, for doing this. So I'll just take that last question. Can an MA certified student of APU apply for? So this is something you should do, whatever you to appear for the UGC NET examination.
So it is the university is recognized, the university's degree is recognized. So
you have to do whatever is required to do that. That's possible. So we are back again next week. Next week it's going to be on. We're going to talk about the public policy and governance program. We will have Professor Sudhir Krishnaswamy here, interacting with you all on that. Until then, goodbye and have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.